In 1970, a waitress in Dallas, Texas, who later became known as Jane Roe, filed a lawsuit against Dallas District Attorney Henry Wade in order to achieve an abortion. 3 years later, the United States Supreme Court decided in her favor, giving her and millions of other women the ability to legally perform an abortion on their own child. In a 5-2 decision that was written by Chief Justice Blackmun, and that changed the course of history. Now this year, 2023, abortion activists would like to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of that decision, now known as Roe v Wade. However, in actuality, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of its overturning. But that doesn't mean that the work is finished. In 14 states of the Union, abortion is banned or heavily limited. Only 14. According to the New York Times, another 5 have some light restrictions at 12 and 20 weeks of pregnancy. In all, only 19 out of 50 states have any protection for the unborn child. So today we're going to talk about the work that still needs to be done. We've got 2 incredible women joining us today. Our first guest is Joyce M. Bartholowmew. She's a national spokeswoman for PreBorn, a celebrated musician and film producer, and most importantly, a mother. Joyce, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Great to meet you as well. So Joyce, tell me a little bit about how you got started with PreBorn.
Well, I've been with them for 12 years now. I volunteer. It was all God ordained, but I was a pregnancy care clinic counselor myself. I volunteered doing that way back without any expectation for anything. But that was just my calling to do it because one of my gifts was encouragement. So it just lends itself to counseling. And I did that for many years. And then I've been singing and performing on stage since the age of 8 in the church, outside the church. And God just put those 2 gifts together to have me meet Dan, the president and founder of PreBorn, at when I was singing for him here in Naples, in my hometown. And that's when he asked me to join and start with them 12 years ago and kind of pioneer. Rebecca St. James had pioneered the concerts, trying to get the masses to hear more about the pro-life ministry. This is 12 years ago when it was very unpopular. It's much more popular today, but back then it was very unpopular. And I was her opening artist. That I traveled with her. That's how I met them.
That's fabulous. Now, for those listeners who don't know, our friends over at PreBorn operate the largest chain of crisis pregnancy centers in the country. And Joyce, maybe tell us a little bit more about that work as well.
So right now we have about 84, we call them network clinics. So it's not a legal partnership, but networks meaning we have direct management over them. They come to leadership seminars in the year. They participate in a national conference, and we have training. We provide all their free ultrasounds. And then we also are affiliated with hundreds of about 500 centers across the country who ask for help, like grants, ultrasound machines. We provide those for them for free. We have several on a waiting list right now. We're trying to have 100 given out this year, and invitation evangelism programs. And we're just trying to bring all the centers together nationally so that we can collectively be united and strong in this pro-life movement. Before, we were not joined. These are Christian organizations. We were not collective before. When I started, we were very separate. There's 2,500 across the country, and we were all separated. 2,500.
Just for the sake of scale, I decided to crunch some numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So in 2020, estimates, there's not a whole lot of great numbers about how many abortions are performed each year. It's mostly just an educated guess. Between the CDC and the Pro-Abortion Guttmacher Institute, the estimate for 2020, last year reporting, is anywhere from 630,000 to 930,000 abortions every year in America. So anywhere from a little over 500,000 to a little under 1 million. According to Statista, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, they saw about a 6% decline overall in abortion. So about 56,000 less in the last year alone. Now, PreBorn, for sake of scale, PreBorn's work has saved, directly that we know of, 54,000 babies in the last year alone, and many more besides. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. In the last year alone, that was like about 54,000, but over 16 years, it'd be about 200,000 since the inception of PreBorn. It's only been around for 16 years, and it's been 200,000. And every year it's growing because we have people joining with us and all the support and prayer and God's help and grace. And we just can't do without the financial support, the prayers. It's just been, I just really feel that God really cares about this issue because of all of the innocent bloodshed and all of the broken hearts. It's just heartbreaking.
Absolutely. So you mentioned financial support. Let's talk about the work that still needs to happen. I know a lot of people think, well, Roe v. Wade's been overturned. This issue is practically over, but it really isn't over, because 6% down means that still almost 1 million babies died last year. So at PreBorn, what work are you guys doing now that we have some kind of legal footing that we can fight from? And what do you guys need? What is the need over at PreBorn right now?
Well, we still need those free ultrasounds. They're only $28 for one free ultrasound, that we haven't increased in price since I've joined 12 years ago, because the rest is funded privately by donors. It's about a $300 ultrasound. And then we give this free to them. So they come and see their babies and hear the heartbeat, if the babies are big enough, and hear the heartbeat. And this will change their opinion and their mind for life. 80% of the time with this ultrasound, 40% of the time without an ultrasound, without the visible seeing and hearing. But we do need the financial support, and like $140, we provide 5 free ultrasounds. We are providing the ultrasounds across the country in the highest abortion cities and the highest abortion states, almost all of them. This has been over the years. And we couldn't do this without the lay person, because we are not federally funded like Planned Parenthood, who has like $500,000, $500 million. I think it's 500 million. And we do need financial support that way. We also need people who would like to provide a $15,000 new ultrasound machine to these centers. And they used to be $15,000 for a refurbished one, but now they're providing them for a brand new one because of the volume that we are purchasing them. And this is a blessing from God. It's hugely discounted. And this is like our greatest need as far as like just the lay person helping us. We have donors. If people would like to donate just financially to the administrative costs, we need those too. That's how we are funded, are by the people. So if fiscally, we are really blessed because we are providing all the free ultrasounds in a lot of these cities, and we are the largest opponent to Planned Parenthood right now. And
something that the pro-abortion activists will say on the other side of this is, well, sure, you want the baby to be born, but are you doing anything after the baby is born, right?
Oh yes. I mean, I hear that all the time. I've had people like on social media attack me about that and stuff. It'd be nasty. And I was a counselor, so I can say absolutely not. We care about the mother before the baby's even born. We're doing the gospel presentation if they are willing. Bible studies if they're willing. We are gospel obsessed, honestly, because we know this is the answer for everything, Jesus Christ. And we are providing maternity clothes for the mom, her baby diapers that she needs, counseling, prenatal counseling, just anything that she wants after the baby's born. If she would like to continue, we provide that support too. It is not just the baby. That is a huge factor. We have referrals for adoption agencies if they wish, Christian ones, anything, doctors that they need to have support them. But really, honestly, most of the time we are dealing with the mother, the woman. So they're absolutely incorrect, because I loved those girls, and all these counselors, we love the girls. They're young or older women. we actually love them. So they're for the love of Christ. So they're absolutely incorrect when they say that.
Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about is you mentioned at the start, back when you started with PreBorn, this was a very unattractive position to be taking in the culture. Now, that has started to shift over the last couple of decades. How have you seen that shift been happening?
Well, 12 years ago, it was like during a different administration, like Obama when I started. And I mean, people were just like deadpan. They didn't want to have anything to do with it because they were scared about the backlash from society. And the Christians were very quiet. They were afraid too, probably, or they didn't care. And it was a real uphill battle. And I used to speak with Dan, the president, and say, this is really hard. We're doing this because God wants us to, but this is just really like an uphill battle and discouraging. And then over the years, especially when Trump came into office, he was the most pro-life president ever in our nation. And then things started really changing. It was like God's hand was upon that. And he just made a lot of laws for us. And just a lot of things were changing with him. And it's just continued to progress to this point where I couldn't believe that Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, June 22nd. It was like one of the happiest days of my life. I have been praying for 11 years, every single day, almost every single day for it. I never thought I would see that day. And I want to say that it's incredible. It is the most incredible thing. And people are starting to see that if you want to care about the trees and the animals, which, of course I love animals, but you don't care about a human person, then you are a hypocrite. That's what I would have to say. You don't want to eat meat for whatever reason because of the animals, but then you don't care about harming an innocent person. Then that is complete hypocrisy. And I have no respect for it.
Absolutely. Do you remember where you were on that day when the decision leaked?
Yes, like it was like it leaked in May or something, right? It was earlier. And I think I was in my home and I think I heard it and I think I was in shock that this could actually maybe happen because I've been praying for 11 years. And I used to say it all the time. I'm praying that Roe v. Wade will be overturned by God. I used to say that publicly everywhere I went. And I remember saying, I know it's a long shot, but God is the God of the impossible. And I couldn't believe it. He's answered all of our prayers. We've been praying across the country. People have been praying across the country for this. And it is incredible. But I want to say that 45 centers that got firebombed, vandalized. People have been taken to jail for praying outside, abortion clinics for no reason. They just jailed off, threatened, death threats. I mean, it's kind of scary on the other hand. And then also the abortion pill has become huge so that they're trying to push that. And as well as California is an abortion sanctuary state now, saying that they've made a constitutional right to have an abortion and come and get a free abortion and have a vacation at the same time. So the fight is not over. It's actually, they're quite aggressive and quite nasty too. And I would have to say quite demonic. And I don't think that we can stop. That's where people don't understand that we can't stop because evil progresses when good people do nothing.
When we talk about the work of stopping abortions, an important question to ask is how do we remove the barriers to life? Well, our next guest started asking that question back in 2019, and it led her to co-found Let Them Live, a pro-life ministry devoted to removing the barriers to life. Her name is Emily Berning. She's the co-founder and president of Let Them Live. She's joining us now. Emily, so glad to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. When I heard about Let Them Live, it's got a very interesting model. Most pro-life ministries are dedicated to the very good and important work of showing the baby on ultrasound or being right there outside the Planned Parenthood clinic, trying to talk to these women. But you're taking a very different tack with Let Them Live. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So when my husband and I started Let Them Live, it actually started in such a unique way. The Let Them Live that we know today. And my husband came across a woman on social media, and she was going to have an abortion because of financial reasons. And it turns out, she was evicted from her apartment. She lost her job, single mom, and she was living in her car in December. So it was freezing. And this just did not sit well with him. So I remember him nudging me awake and saying, hey, do you want to save a life from abortion? And I'm like, yeah, of course, whatever we have to do. And he says, okay, well, we're going to have to give her all the money in our bank account. And I said, okay, let's do this. And so this mom really just needed financial support. And that was pretty much, we didn't have that much money in our account. We just gotten married. But that's what we felt called to do. And so after this first, encounter, it started to kind of stir up some questions of, are there other women that are having abortions because they can't, afford their rent because of this financial burden? Are there people out there that would be even willing to donate to help this because we just ran out of money? And the answers are yes. 73% of women, according to the Guttmacher Institute, have abortions in the United States because of financial burden. So that's a really huge chunk of women seeking abortion and having abortions because of something that is honestly extremely solvable. So we knew from that point on that this was going to be our mission, that our mission was literally to raise the money that women need so that we can support them and they can feel confident in choosing life and making sure that, their babies are taken care of and they can get back on their feet.
Absolutely. And part of the reason I really wanted to talk to you guys was, as Christians, as conservatives, as the more right-leaning side of the aisle, we hear a lot about how the church actually needs to get involved with helping the poor, with helping the single mothers. And we do have a lot of great charities around that. But at the end of the day, it feels like we leave a whole lot to the government that really we should be doing ourselves. And this is one of those things where I feel like this really is the church's arena to jump in and be helping these young moms in order for them to not have to make a very difficult choice that we know to be really one of the saddest choices you can make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And no woman should ever have to feel like she has to choose between paying her bills or her preborn baby's life. And so, like you said, this is where the church can really get involved and Let Them Live. The way we started it, it was just us helping one mom. And while we've helped so many women cancel their abortions, this has also become a way for people who are pro-life and for the church to take it from saying I'm pro-life to actually doing something about it. We give donors and church members an opportunity to give to Let Them Live, and giving to Let Them Live, the more money we raise, the more moms we can help and the more lives we saved. So we can save. So donating to Let Them Live is directly tied to lives saved. So it gives the opportunity for pro-lifers to dive even deeper into this mission. And churches, like you said, specifically, churches have so much power and ability to help. And so we actually have an amazing program called our Adopt a Mom program, which pairs a church up with a mom that they can, adopt, and they can help financially support her, send her encouragement and just walk alongside of her and get that experience of how Nathan and I felt when we helped that very first mom. And it's so important to do. We're called to do more than just say we're pro-life.
Absolutely. And I do want to dip a little bit into what it actually looks like, your ministry. So what are the mechanics of it? Is this just like a slush fund if a woman says, hey, I need money or I'll have an abortion? Is that what's happening?
Well, we take, stewardship of donor money and dollars very seriously. And so we have a full vetting process, which includes, connecting a mom that comes to us with a local pregnancy center if she wasn't already referred to us by a pregnancy center or sidewalk counselor. But we connect them to a pregnancy center. We get an updated ultrasound, and we lay out, if there's a mom that we determine is eligible for our support, we create a financial plan, which lays out everything that we're going to be doing. She signs it, we sign it. There's certain contingencies, so that, she also has, some stock in, her plan. So, she needs to get a job. She needs to start saving money. She needs to take financial coaching classes or life coaching, which are things that we all provide. And so we make sure that these moms there's no like scamming going on. We definitely do due diligence with that. So like I mentioned, we do have partnerships with pregnancy centers and sidewalk counselors. And because Let Them Live has such a large social media following, a lot of women find us on social media. In fact, we actually had one mom a couple of years ago, and she was at Planned Parenthood and she had just had an ultrasound, and she was waiting to go back for her abortion. And she pulled out her phone and went to Instagram, saw a post of ours, and reached out. And our social media director happened to see that message right away, connected her with a counselor, and our pregnancy counselor talked to this mom in the bathroom at Planned Parenthood and convinced her to leave. And that was because we were able to say, hey, we're going to be able to support you. And so we have a lot of different ways that donors give. We have weekly fundraisers for individual moms. We also have monthly giving. And those fundraisers that I just said, those are like crowdfunding. So think of it as like pro-life GoFundMe. We have a situation with a mom and we say, hey, here are the details of it. Do you want to give to it? So we have those crowdfunders. And then we do monthly giving. And we also, like I said, have the churches come alongside. And so, this is the way that we're able to pay those bills for our moms. And we also have checks and balances. So it's not just like here we're handing you, $20,000. Every payment is actually made directly to where the bill is due. So if there's rent, that goes to the landlord. If there's a phone bill, that goes to Verizon. We're paying the bills directly, and it's managed. It's not meant to be a long-term, here's, $1 million for, 3 years. It's meant to be something that helps them get back on their feet, and something kind of that helps them to get back into a better position.
That's great. I love hearing that. I love hearing the stories as well. Those always hit me right in the chest, man. But
me too.
I love hearing that you're doing your due diligence there, that we can, actually see where this money is going. We know that there is proper stewardship happening here. So let's shift gears a little bit here. You've been in the pro-life movement. I mean, you've been like neck deep in it since 2019 now. Roe v. Wade overturned last year. Have you been seeing the effects of that on the ground?
Yeah, so we have definitely seen, the overturn of Roe v. Wade, save a lot of lives. And, not to be a Debbie Downer, but on the flip side, we've also seen it kind of lead into some things that, aren't so good. So, and I think this is kind of paired with maybe when Roe v. Wade was overturned, a lot of the pro-life movement, not all of it, but, some people decided to kind of say, okay, like we could take a break now. We're done. In fact, I got an email from a donor last June, and it said, hey, now that Roe's overturned, like, what are you guys going to do? Your mission doesn't really, like, it's not going to do anything anymore because abortion isn't going to exist anymore. And I think this was like the confusion about Roe, was that, once it's overturned, it's all done. But what he wasn't taking into account was how, the abortion supporters were going to respond. They, wasn't taking into account the availability of the abortion pill and how easy it is to get, and to get it delivered, even if you're in a state where abortion is considered illegal. And so we're seeing a lot more, I would say, abortion pill-related abortions. And we are also seeing travel for abortions. So for Let Them Live, really, we just doubled down. Even when there are women contacting us from, say, Tennessee or Mississippi, we know that the availability of abortion is there. And so we don't just say, oh, well, you're in a state that doesn't allow it, so we're not worried. We definitely take that into account, though. That became part of our vetting process, is how available is abortion to you? And again, sadly, with the abortion pill, it's super available. And organizations like Planned Parenthood are providing transportation to other states. Companies are covering the cost of travel and abortion to other states. And of course, you have nonprofits that are like Let Them Live, but they fund abortion instead of life, that are raising millions upon millions of dollars. And they were raising way more after Roe was overturned to fund abortion. So really, we just have to keep doubling down and keep at it, because women need to know that they have resources, and we have to start thinking in the mindset of outfunding, outraising, outdoing National Abortion Federation, Planned Parenthood, et cetera.
Exactly. And this is what I tend to tell people. All the overturning of Roe v. Wade did, and I don't want anyone to miss this, all it did was give us a level playing field. And now we have to do the work of building a machine that can outcompete the pro-abortion activists. And we're not there yet, because we had to spend so much time building a machine just to get back to a level playing field. Now that we're there, we have so much more work to do building a machine that can actually start reducing the number of abortions. I mentioned this earlier in the show. It bears repeating. Anywhere from 600,000 to nearly 1 million abortions a year. According to Statista, that's only been down 6% since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Now, that's 6%. Every percent of that is beautiful and wonderful, but that still means we're close to maybe 750,000 abortions every year. So the places like Let Them Live, places like we talked to PreBorn earlier, you guys are doing a great job building a machine to outcompete, and I really appreciate you for that.
And it's so important, and something that I thought was really interesting. I actually just started reading a book that a friend of mine wrote called The Pro-Life Bottom Line, and it's about like marketing and the pro-life movement. His name is Brett Atterbury. And he, right when you open the book, he makes the best point. And I never thought about it like this, but if you think about abortion in terms of supply and demand, right? Roe and the legislation and the fight to overturn Roe really went after the supply of abortion, and laws regarding, restricting abortion go after the supply of abortion. But we cannot forget about the demand. And that's where Let Them Live and organizations like Let Them Live come in, is figuring out, why is there a demand for abortion? What is the deeper rooted issue? How can we solve those problems so that we get rid of the demand for abortion? So that's really like you said, I think we have our work cut out for us. And I think that's the next step to really hone in on.
Our work may be difficult, but it is so worth it. Again, Emily Berning, she is the co-founder and president of Let Them Live. Emily, thank you so much for joining us today. Real quick, if there is a mom listening right now, where can she find you?
She can go to letthemlive.org. She can reach out to us on our social media. It's just Let Them Live, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. And just reach out. You can fill out a form. We'll get a counselor in touch with you. Know that you're not alone. And we're literally here to help. This is what we live and exist to do, is to help you.